Good evening and welcome to the 2023 British Firework Championships, live from Plymouth, Britain's ocean city. Wherever you're watching this evening, welcome. Welcome if you're watching the live stream on YouTube, on the Visit Plymouth YouTube channel. Hello to the tens of thousands of people here on Plymouth Hoe and the waterfront. Hello to the hundreds of people out watching on the water in Plymouth Sound. And hello to the thousands of people all around the coastline of Plymouth Sound. We are in for a fantastic evening, some of the best fireworks you will see anywhere in the United Kingdom this year. We're just half an hour away from countdown to the first display tonight. 3 teams will compete this evening, then another 3 teams tomorrow before we find out who the British Firework Champion is for 2023. In the next half an hour, we'll bring you all the build-up. We'll go behind the scenes and meet some of the teams and look at some of the technology they're using, how they've set up their displays over on the breakwater at Mountbatten. And then throughout the displays this evening, we'll have expert commentary and analysis, and we are linked directly to launch control. So we will hear if there are any last-minute hitches. We'll hear the countdown ready for takeoff for each of the displays. And I'm delighted to say that once again this year we're being guided through the British Firework Championship by Andy Hubble, who's Vice Chair of the British Pyrotechnicists Association, but also a champion at this particular competition in the past and a champion of champions. Good to see you again, Andy.
Yes, hello Justin, it's great to be back here again this year.
And you're linked to Launch Control. What are you hearing from them? What's the latest over there?
Everything is going very calmly. They're currently clearing the harbour. We're waiting for the go-ahead from the Queen's Harbour Master. And then when we're ready, the first team will put in the key into their firing system, turn it and press the fire button. But we're about 25, 30 minutes away from that. But it's all going very calmly at the moment.
And as someone who's been in this position before, half an hour before the first display, what will be going through the minds of the various teams at the moment? What sort of checks and last-minute details will they be looking at?
So they've been setting up their show since 7 o'clock this morning, and they were probably ready by some point this afternoon. They would have been doing their final firing system tests, and they'll have known for a few hours that everything's okay, and the system is saying that all the fireworks are going to fire, hopefully on cue. So they should be relaxed, but you never can be fully relaxed, particularly when you've got shows the size of the ones that we have here in Plymouth, because until you see that firework display firing, until you see that firing system working fully, you're never completely, and you're pacing up and down. I certainly find myself with that. I'm sure wearing out some of the concrete out there on the breakwater.
We've been very lucky today here in Plymouth to have the most perfect weather conditions. The sun has been shining. For the competitors getting ready today, what have conditions been like over there?
It's been a warm and sunny day today. Sometimes we get really wet days and we get 40-foot waves crashing over lorries that are parked on the breakwater unloading the fireworks. But today it's one of those days where there's been quite a breeze coming in, but also the sun's been shining. I went out there for an hour or so and I got quite a bit of sun just going out there today. So the teams have been out in it all today. And I'd say that's ideal conditions. You want dryness, of course. Nobody wants to do a fireworks display in the wet because smoke can combine with humidity and increase the effect of the smoke. So you ideally want nice, dry, calm conditions, a little bit of wind to blow things away, but we're lucky tonight. We do have a light breeze. It's going in a good direction, so I think we'll all get a very good shot of the fireworks.
Now, we'll go through the teams that are competing tonight in just a moment, and we'll meet some of the team members as well. Before that, though, just give us a rundown again of the rules of the competition. What is it that the firework teams will be doing to try to impress the judges? What techniques will they be using? What planning have they been doing to make sure they impress the judges tonight?
There are no real limits on what they can do here. We have a maximum limit on certain types of fireworks, and there is a size limit. But beyond that, it's the imagination of the firework company. They're set a maximum amount of explosive powder that they can put into their show. And then as long as they meet somewhere between the minimum amount of powder and the maximum, as long as they're in that box, then they can do what they like. And they will plan their shows so that it's a multi-level fireworks display. It contains all of the elements. Remember, the judges that we have here are a bunch of professional judges and also a bunch of lay judges from the local community. And they will want to design a show that's matched to each of those different sets of judges, because they will all appreciate different things. The technical judges will appreciate the real artistry and technique. The lay judges may appreciate the power and the might of the fireworks and the wow factor. Everybody will be looking for something different, and their job really as a team is to capture it all. And if you can do a show that ticks all those boxes and contains the rhythm and symmetry and the sounds and the colours and the different effects, then that's really sort of a winning recipe.
Well, we want to hear from the crowds tonight for each display. Make sure you vote with your voices tonight when we see each of the displays as loud as you can to let us know what you think of them. Obviously, the judges will be looking at all the technical details, but also the overall display, and we will go through what the highlights of each display are likely to be, because I know you've spoken to all the teams, so we'll get a little bit of an insight in a moment from you, Andy, about what the teams have got planned. Stay with us for that. But before that, we've been behind the scenes down at the breakwater at Mountbatten, an impressive site, an amazing location for the launch site out there just a few metres away from where we are, across the water. And that's where the teams have been laying out. You can see there on the breakwater, the 3 teams have had spaces allocated. There you go, you can see from that shot their allocation of space, and those tubes is what they will use to launch the fireworks from. So we've been behind the scenes down there at Mountbatten Breakwater to find out how the 3 teams competing tonight have been getting their displays ready. Well, we're on Mountbatten Pier, and this is what it's all about. It probably doesn't look like the sort of firework that you'd be familiar with on your November the 5th firework parties. Andy, tell us a bit about this one. What have we got here?
This is an aerial shell, so it's fired like a cannonball high up into the sky, and when it gets at the peak of its flight, it bursts and releases hundreds of thousands of stars. And this particular one that you're holding is a brocade crown with these red things, which we call them a tail. So when that rises up into the sky, it's got a big golden trunk going up. An amazing firework, this one. It's the kind of firework that I'd expect to see in a finale, but that's a 6-inch shell, really very much one of the biggest that you'll see in the display.
And this is going to be part of the 3rd display tonight. It'll be very interesting to see how this is used. What are they actually doing here now, last-minute preparations? Take us through the process of getting ready for tonight.
So there'll have been a lot of preparation that goes on before the fireworks display. They'll have been preparing the fireworks in their workshops, putting the firework cues onto the fireworks so that they know which cue to plug the individual firework into. Then when they're on the site, they set up their equipment, they load the fireworks into what we call mortar tubes, and this is a firing rack that they've set up here, and then they will connect them into the computerized firing system, which knows when to fire the fireworks at exactly which time. And then the final thing is they put foil over. This is a sticky foil tape, and that means that the firework is fireproof, because we've got 3 teams every night out on the breakwater, and there's lots of sparks going on everywhere. We don't know which way the wind will blow those sparks, so to protect each display they use foil so they don't all start lighting each other.
Let's talk about the angles. These are all very upright, but a part of this display, without giving away too many of their secrets, over here we've got some that are angled. Presumably they're going to fire off to the side. Tell us a bit about how the angle works on these.
Well, this team in particular have got 5 different sites, all at slightly different angles. So there's outside is a very wide angle, then there's a slightly more subtle, and behind us here, the site, they're firing straight up. And so when you're looking at it from the judging position, you can see the big spread across the sky. It'd be quite boring if every single firework went straight up into the sky. So what the teams try and do is create the width of the display, and you do that by having angled firing racks.
Well, let's take a bit of a look at some of the equipment that's used. You've got a firing box there, Andy. Tell us a bit about how this would be wired up tonight.
So each firework has 2 wires, and they'll go into a red and a black. You can see there are numbers along these which tell you which are the cues to put them in. And the great thing about firing systems like this, I'm holding here a cable that's just got 2 wires on it, and this is quite a robust, heavy duty, and these are what weave in and out of the firing system and connect all of these boxes together.
So 2 wires could potentially launch how many here? What's 30 odd fireworks?
32 fireworks on this one.
Wow.
But equally you could have multiple fireworks connected to a single queue. So there's quite a lot of firepower just inside this little box.
Well, this setup here shows the range of sizes of fireworks. I mean, look at this little one here, the 3-inch one. You've got what there, Andy, a 7-inch?
This is a 7-inch, and right over here, a huge Spanish 8-inch shell, which, you know, the size of the burst between them from a 3-inch shell right the way up to the largest size that we allow the competitors to use out in the competition. Quite different, but all essential, because you can put far more of these up in the air than you can with a great big 8-inch shell like this. But equally, the size of the burst from something like this might be 200 meters across. The size of the burst for something like this may only be 75.
And in terms of where they all come from, the different countries, because I know different countries have a slightly different style of firework. What have we got here?
So these 2 products are Chinese.
Yeah.
Chinese fireworks have come along in the quality of the bursts and the quality of the manufacture. Health and safety is very strict out there. Manufacturing processes are really advanced now. And so the Chinese products are excellent.
Tell us about the number of tubes, though, on average. I mean, you said about the size of each area that's used. Is there a limit? Is there a number that everyone uses in terms of the number of tubes, or can they use as many as they like?
There's no limit on the number of tubes, except there are limits on the actual total weight of explosive powder that a team is allowed to use. There has to be a yardstick and a fair measure that every team operates to. So there's an upper level of that. And so really, it's down to them as to how many of this size they put in versus how many of that size. But something like this is going to contain several kilos of powder, and it's going to use up quite a bit of your allowance. So it's just getting it right, and that's part of the skill of designing the show.
Well, that was earlier today on Mountbatten Breakwater. Back here live on stage on Plymouth Hoe. I'm joined now by 2 very special guests. The Lord Mayor of Plymouth, Mark Shea, and also Pierre Lebert from Brittany Ferries, who's going to upstage us all, I reckon. Now, are you looking forward to it, Pierre Lebert? You're not going to be frightened by the banging and the fireworks? Good. No, might have to cover up your big ears a little bit. How about you, Lord Mayor? How are you looking forward to it?
Good evening, Justin. Good evening, Plymouth. Good evening to all the people out there on holiday here. Good evening to everybody watching online. Welcome to the 26th Great British Firework Competition.
How important is this to Plymouth? It's such a huge event. What does it mean to the city to host it?
It's a huge event here in Plymouth. All Plymouthians love it. And what a fantastic night we're going to have. No rain tonight, no thunderstorms, and a beautiful sunset. What more could we ask for?
And as you say, it's the 26th time the city has hosted it, but tonight is a night of firsts because we've got, for the first time, a group of youngsters on the judging panel. Tell us a bit more about them.
Yes, tonight we have a group of care-experienced young persons who are going to be judging tonight and tomorrow night, and they are going to award, on tomorrow night, they're going to be awarding the Young Person's Choice Award for the fireworks.
And the other first is, as we can see, for the first time, British Sign Language for the whole event, who've been doing a fantastic job. Really important to have them here as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. We want this event to be as inclusive as we possibly can and for as many people as possible to enjoy it, both here in Plymouth and online.
Now, this event, of course, attracts people from right across the city, but right across the UK, right across the world, coming to Plymouth, especially for this event. While people are here in Plymouth, though, what sort of things can they find out about the city? What sort of things can they do in the city while they're here?
Wow, what a question. I could answer that for hours and hours. However, keeping it short, we have our fantastic Hoe, we have the Lido, we have the Barbican, we have the Box, and we even have Mount Edgeham over there. And we have all the boats and the boat trips around in this beautiful sound. What a fantastic place to come on holiday.
Lord Mayor, thank you very much. Please give it up for the Lord Mayor of Plymouth and Pierre Lebert from Brittany Ferries, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us.
Pierre, high five. Yay!
I told you the bear would upstage us all. Thank you to Pierre. Well, the stage is set. Plymouth Hoe is looking fantastic. Lots of sparkling lights here because it's getting quite dark now. The skies are just about perfect for the Firework Championships to get underway in about 15 minutes. We're just about 15 minutes away from the first team to launch tonight over on Mountbatten Breakwater. So let's go through the teams that we're going to see tonight and tomorrow. Andy Hubble is back with me now, our expert guest tonight. And Andy, take us through who we're going to see tonight and then who we're going to see tomorrow. Let's have a look at the competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. Tonight, our very first display is going to come from the UK Fireworks Company. They are a company based in London and Manchester, and they will be firing from the left-hand side of the breakwater as we look at it. They're moving on to Team 2, Distant Thunder Fireworks, a team from Devizes in Wiltshire, and Team 3 tonight, Shockwave Pyrotechnics, and Shockwave are from Dudley in Staffordshire.
Okay, so this is tonight's order. That's what we'll see the companies fire in. How was that decision taken for that order and for those three to be competing tonight?
Well, I think there's always a mental thing that teams would like to be the last to compete. Now, over the years, the judging at Plymouth has become really excellent, and the judges, they score all of the teams and then they review their scores between day 1 and day 2. So really it's only a psychological benefit, but nonetheless everybody would like to fire in position 3. So what happens is the council conducts a draw, and that draw is done, it's live streamed sometimes it's been done on the radio, and the teams then get to find out. But they've already started designing their show, and they actually have to design their show for any firing position on the breakwater. Sometimes you might be near on the left-hand side as we look at it, nearest to Mountbatten, but sometimes you might be nearer to the lighthouse. And so they have to design as though they're nearer to the Mountbatten, and yeah, it's very random.
Okay, so those are the three for tonight, and that's the order that they will fire in. Let's take a look at what's planned for tomorrow and see the competitors that we've got for tomorrow. So there we go, and that's the order they'll fire in. Tell us about the companies that we can look forward to tomorrow.
So tomorrow we've got a fantastic range of different companies with lots of different things to offer. We've got Skyburst, the fireworks company, a company that's been working around the UK for a very long time. Pyrovision, equally, a very well-known company with a great history of operating in the UK with some experienced people on their team. And likewise, Electrify Pyrotechnics, who are up from the East Midlands area, they really, between the three of them, are going to mean that day 2 is going to be just as exciting as day 1.
Okay, so that's tomorrow to look forward to. Let's come back to tonight, and let's go through and find out a bit more about the teams that we will see and hear tonight, starting with the first display team. Tell us a little bit more about them and where they're from, and I know you've been speaking to them today. Give us a little bit of an insight into what their display is going to look like, what they're planning for.
Yeah, absolutely. So the UK Firework Company from London and Manchester, perhaps not one of the more well-known names in the industry, but they work right across the UK, and they do shows for things like Guy Fawkes, but of course for other events that happen all around the year, like weddings and Christmas lights, proms and graduations, and many more different things. And one of the other features that they include in their displays is confetti and indoor work as well. So very much a broad spectrum company with lots of different things that they can offer us. Now, as regards to their fireworks show, it's a very exciting display. It's going to start off with a big ricochet of single-shot fireworks. So these are fireworks where there's lots of individual fireworks that fire one by one in very rapid succession, creating patterns in the sky. They're also going to contain fireworks that have smiley face effects. So aerial shells that will go up into the air. They're fired like cannonballs up into the air, and then they burst at height. And if we're lucky, the smiley face smiles, and if we're unlucky, it fires upside down, and it's a grumpy face. And if we're even more unlucky, worse still, it fires in a complete plane, and we just see a line, which is a bit of a shame.
So that's one thing that we've all got to look out for tonight, whether you're watching on the live stream on YouTube or you're watching here in Plymouth, is a smiley face as part of display number 1. Just take us through the planning process, because what we saw earlier on when we visited Mountbatten was a whole load of tubes all being filled with explosives, all wired up, looked like a chaotic tangle of wires, but they were all very carefully labelled and everyone knew where the wires were going, but it did look like a real tangle of wires. So a huge amount of work has gone into it today. But going back a few steps, how much work goes into the planning and design to get to tonight?
Well, they will have been planning for these displays for months. What they want to do is put in and showcase the very best product that we can offer here in the UK through all the various different suppliers, whether it's from China or it's beautiful European product as well. But they'll have been planning their show, and they'll have broken it down into various different sections, and they'll decide which fireworks they want to put here and which ones there and which ones work together and which ones don't, and perhaps even ruling some out altogether, how their finale is going to work. We've seen lots of different styles of finale over the years, whether it's been a big gold brocade sequence, which essentially there is a big golden trailing firework, a golden big trailing firework that carries out that carries down to the ground, and it fills the sky, but also strobe effects, which is big flashing effects, red, white and blue sequence. They'll decide that, and ultimately they'll bring it all together and they'll put it into their show and start setting it up. We actually only went out there in the morning. They've been putting out even more fireworks ever since then, so the shows tonight are absolutely packed.
And in terms of some years, special additional items are added to reflect what's going on. For instance, last year we had a bit of reflection of the Platinum Jubilee. Have there been any specific requirements placed on the teams this year, or have they been free to design whatever they like?
They've been free to design the shows as they want, but they have to bear in mind that we have the extra judging panel this year with the youth choice decision, which is fantastic, because having youngsters involved in deciding, they're all wowed by different things. They're all into lots of different things, and they'll be looking for other different effects and see different things that the judges, perhaps in the technical judges or the main judges, won't have seen themselves.
Just keeping an eye on the time, because we're just over 5 minutes away, if we go as scheduled, to launch. What are you hearing from launch control so far? Is it all going according to plan over there?
Yeah, we've just had the green light from the harbour master, which means that the harbour is clear of boats from the safety zone. Nobody is going to be affected by the fireworks. That's a very important step, because safety comes first here at the championships. So we'll go for that. I also know that Team 1 are ready to fire their show, so everything is standing by for an on-time start at 9:30.
Okay, so the Harbour Master's given the go-ahead. Team 1 has given a thumbs up. What sort of final, in these last 5 minutes, what sort of final safety checks and other considerations have to be made?
The final checks, their firing systems will all be ready to go. They'll have done their final test probably 5 or 10 minutes ago. And Team 1 will just literally be waiting for that go-ahead. And once they get it, a single button press is all it takes to launch the displays. Something to look out for, though, Justin. We always have a special signal at the championship to denote the start and also end of the fireworks display. It used to be, anybody that came maybe 10, 15 years ago would have heard 3 loud bangs, which we call maroons or salutes in the industry, that went off in the air. We've changed that now, and now we have a traffic light system. So anybody watching the show will see a red shell bursting in the sky, followed by an amber shell bursting in the sky, followed by a green shell bursting in the sky, and then the display starts. They've got exactly 10 minutes for their show, and they will get deducted marks if the show overruns, or doesn't make that 10 minutes. And that begins from the start, from that green shell. So that's when timing begins.
Okay, that's what we need to look out for, the traffic light signal when we're ready to go. We're about 5 minutes away from that. So just before we see display number 1, let's hear from one of the members of the first display team tonight, the UK Firework Company.
Hi everyone, Joanne here from the UK Firework Company. We're delighted to be back in Plymouth this year and we'll be opening the show for you this evening. We wish all the competitors the very best of luck, and from all the team here at the UK Firework Company, we really hope you enjoy our display tonight and we all hope you have a brilliant evening.
Really nice to hear them wishing all the other competitors the best of luck. And I wanted to ask you a bit about that, Andy, because they've all been working individually in their spaces over on the Mountbatten Breakwater today. But how much interaction when you're over there do you have with your competing teams, and how much rivalry is there between everyone?
Oh, well, there's a lot of rivalry. Everybody wants to win, but there's also a lot of camaraderie. Everybody knows everybody else in the industry. We've got only a certain number of companies throughout the UK. So, yeah, they've all been helping each other. I know in past years where teams have been running behind in getting their setup, other teams have helped them set up and make sure that they get finished and present their show. So it is a friendly atmosphere. There's food and drink for them provided by another company, Celtic Fireworks, that is located at the end of the breakwater, so they can go and enjoy themselves, relax in between the setting up, because it's a very long day. It starts at 7 o'clock in the morning with the setup, and they have to be off, these teams tonight, by tonight, because of course we're doing it all again in the morning.
And in terms of they're all sort of friendly rivals. Are they trying to keep some of their displays secret? I guess it's too late at this stage, once they've set up on the breakwater, for anyone to copy anyone else. But are they trying to keep a little bit back and trying to keep a little bit secret from some of their competitors?
To an extent, but the secrecy when you get onto site really is out the window. And that's because people can see what you're setting up, but also they have to make submissions to the adjudicator of what their show is going to contain exactly several weeks beforehand. And so it's cast in stone by the time that you get here. All of the fireworks are prepared. The computer firing system programming is done. So really, you could go around and tell everybody exactly what you're going to do. Fortunately, they do tell us what they're going to do so that we can share it with everybody. But yeah, it will be secrecy up until the point where they come here, I would say.
And as someone who's competed and someone who keeps in touch with the whole industry as a representative of the firework industry in this country, and you sit on government panels and talk about health and safety and things, what does it mean for companies to compete here at Plymouth? How important is the Plymouth contest, the British Firework Championship, for the whole industry?
The British Firework Championships in Plymouth really are the pinnacle of the competitions here. Companies have gone on here to win overseas at major international competitions. And right now, people around the world that are firework enthusiasts are watching us at home, enjoying the fireworks and the competition that we're putting on for them. And it really is putting Plymouth on the map. It's certainly on the international calendar as far as competitions go. There are other competitions. We have the British Musical Firework Championships in Southport, and then there are some smaller events that are hosted around at different venues. But this is the one. This is the one that everybody wants to win, and certainly then go on every 6 years where the past champions get together and win the British Champion of Champions would be the absolute cream de cream.
I reckon we're probably about a minute or so, even less possibly, away from launch. What are you hearing from launch control?
Not had any updates yet, but I believe that, yes, we are a minute away. So hopefully we will get that word very soon and the fireworks will begin.
And then we will see the first display from the UK Firework Company, who are here to get the whole thing underway tonight. You mentioned that the firing position maybe gives an advantage, maybe not, in terms of where they're located on the breakwater. But what does it mean to the crowds watching here? Oh, I think we're about to get underway. First display is just starting. Here we go. Display number one. Let's hear it, Plymouth, for display number one. What did you think? The UK Firework Company getting the 2023 British Firework Championships underway. So we've had the verdict of the crowd here. Let's get instant analysis from Andy Hubble. We've got a replay from the very beginning of display number one. Take us through it, Andy. What did you think?
This was a very full display, and there were lots of things. There were lots of things that were happening in this show, a very, very busy show, and we saw lots of different colours, red, white and blue, and a lot of these which are silver strobe shells. And you can actually see that some of these silver strobe shells have got tails on them that go up into the sky, and they are just one of the things. But, you know, silver's not the only colour that we can get. Some of the teams that we're going to be speaking to later have actually got different colours of strobe as well. We've got things like lemons and red, and here at the bottom we've got silver strobes and blue stars as well. These are, and some spinners as well, lots of different effects.
One thing I noticed on their display, near the start, it was fairly low level, fairly quiet as well. It sort of built as it went on, built in height, built in size, built in volume. Was that part of their plan when you heard it? Was it a building momentum of a display?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a building momentum. That's one of the things that you need to do when you're designing one of these displays. You're going to have highs and lows. You're going to have quiet sequences and noisy sequences. And so here, we're looking at what we call horsetail shells. It's a lovely charcoal gold trail with silver strobe stars. And then this bit down below, the previous would have been quiet, but this bit here would have been quite noisy. Those bursts down at the bottom, a similar effect, so it's a charcoal gold trail, also with a silver strobe that fills the sky, with blue shells bursting overhead. We call them blue peony shells. They don't have any trails. We don't see any trails on any of those fireworks as well. Very beautiful, silver and blue, very good. And now we change into red, green and blue. And this effect that we can see at the bottom is the crossette. So basically it's a star that's launched from the firework and it bursts into 4 separate pieces. And they've got colourful ones at the bottom, but they've also got different colours in the sky. It looks like lemon and pink as well.
What about the conditions for firing tonight? And we can see some of the smoke hanging in the air down at the bottom of the screen here on the replay. In terms of launch conditions tonight and where the smoke is going, how will they have found that?
Well, in an ideal world, if you're going to have wind, you want wind taking the smoke away from the audience. And particularly if you've got a competition, you want the smoke to be taken away from the judges. And that's what we've got tonight. What we've got tonight is the wind blowing away from the judges and out towards the sea, which is perfect. And I've just heard that Team 2 are doing their final tests. They're getting their firing system ready, and we should be getting a countdown in a few minutes' time, leading into there. But what a show. Look at this, the gold brocade, and it's going into a crackle effect there. And then we talked about single shot. This is one of the effects that UK Firework Company said that they were going to be using lots of. So lots of different colours here, and these are single one by one. And here you can see that there's a mine effect at the bottom, which is all the little stars, and then they're going up into single stars, and then they go overhead, creating that layered effect with the shells up above.
In terms of how they're using their space, the size of the display, how well were they using the space they'd been allocated in terms of the width and breadth of their display?
Well, it was a wide show. And we could see that right from start through to the end. We could see that the fireworks were angled to the left and to the right to create that width. And in fact, when it came to the finale, it got such a big wow and cheer from the crowd because it filled the sky. And you don't achieve that if you only fire the fireworks upwards. Here again is a very interesting effect. It's a horsetail effect, a brocadey colour with blue stars. And then down below, can you see those little red stars and blue stars at the bottom? They're called falling leaf shells. And they're a nice effect. You can get them in lots of different colours. And we can see that some of these are blue falling leaves that we're seeing. And now it completely changes and goes into a different sequence. And this one's a bit more chaotic, with a very bright pink and some, I believe, lemon stars going backwards and forwards with lemon and pink crossets above and a lovely glittery shell above as well.
And they were creating a sort of wavy effect. They were going up into the sky in a sort of wave there. How would they have created that?
Well, that's actually the design of the firework itself. That firework will have been built in China, probably, to do exactly that effect. You can see them doing a kind of searchlight, and that's a barrage firework that's creating that for us. And then up in the sky, we've got lovely blue shells going into pink shells here. And some of these pink shells have got centers, and we call the center a pistil. A bit like the parts of a flower. Some of these names coming from Japanese terms when they make their fireworks.
One thing I noticed about this part of the display, and increasingly so, the display was coming out at us. For those of us watching over here on the Hoe, this display got bigger and bigger in the sky towards us. It was sort of just coming out of the sky at us, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and terrific reflections on the water as well. That's one of the great things about Plymouth, is that with the waterfront location, wherever you're watching from, you are looking at an incredible view, and yeah, very, very much three-dimensional.
I've got to say as well, we can see on the replay here all the lights from the boats on the water as well. That's one of the unique benefits of this display being held here in Plymouth, because we've got this backdrop of Plymouth Sound, where we've got hundreds of boats, little boats with all their lights there twinkling on the water. Now, I don't know if we've seen on the replay yet the smiley face. I don't know how many people here saw the smiley face on their display, but it was quite obvious. There were a few of them, actually, weren't there?
Yeah, we were looking out for that smiley face, and it's always a dilemma as to whether they're going to go upside down or not. But I think everybody caught the first one. But it wasn't just one. We were treated to 4 or 5 smiley face shells. And I know that was one of the... There they are, absolutely. Look at that.
Smiley faces.
It doesn't matter where you're looking from. We can see that that's a smiley face. The crowd here loved it. And I think we're going to get treated to some more of those in some of tonight's shows.
I mean, just reflecting on what we're seeing here now on the replay, overall, and we're building to their finale, but overall, what were your impressions of display number 1?
It was a very good show to start with. It's always a very difficult position starting with the first one, but we all enjoyed it, the crowd enjoyed it, and I think their finale was a classic Plymouth finale, where they filled the sky with gold and brocade. It's that gold trailing effect that literally hangs around in the air for ages and just eventually, gradually burns out.
We'll come back to their finale in a moment, so we'll look at how they finished up in a moment. But let's quickly look ahead, because we're just a few minutes away now from display number 2, Distant Thunder. Tell us a little bit about what they've told you about their display tonight. What can we look forward to?
Well, Distant Thunder Fireworks, they've got a fantastic show lined up for us. They have told it begins replicating retail fireworks, is what they said. So replicating cakes and barrages, but with aerial shells. They've got colour sequences, crossettes, waterfalls, dahlias, a falling leaf effect, which is a little bit different, they've told me. And in this show, something to look out for in the final is the pink igual shell. It's a Spanish shell, and it's a pink strobe. And that's going to be... in the very end, with a huge volume of show with titanium willow finish and a gold colour with lots of colour going ahead. And they are getting ready. They're only minutes away. The Harbour Master's given his go-ahead for the second show. It's 1 minute to go.
OK, so about a minute to go. Let's very quickly hear from one of the team members of Distant Thunder.
So my name's Trevor from Distant Thunder Fireworks. Pleased to be here in Plymouth in the beautiful weather. Our show tonight, we hope you'll enjoy. We hope it's nice and high aerial for you. We're not doing too much on the ground. So expect some big bangs, expect a nice finale. Yeah, and enjoy the show. Thank you.
So that's Distant Thunder about to get underway. So we're only, seconds away, hopefully. But this was the finale. Before we see number 2, let's look at the finale of number 1. What did you make of their sort of flourish at the end? Because they had the sort of identical fireworks in succession just to make a uniform display in the sky.
Here we go, the classic Plymouth finale, the gold brocade. But we're in the countdown now. 6, 5.
This is number 2,
4,
Distant Thunder. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. There we go, Distant Thunder number 2. What did we think, Plymouth, of number 2 displayed tonight? There is so much to talk about, Andy. That was an impressive display. Let's look at the replay. Take us through it. What did you make of it?
I think Trevor Wiltshire from Distant Thunder will be absolutely chuffed from it. They can't see this show when they're at the end of the breakwater. They're watching it side on. We saw it all, and the crowd gave that one a very good reaction. So look at those shells up there. They were quite extraordinary. There was so much content in that display, and
they promised a high display, and they really did fill the sky, didn't they?
Yeah, they said that they were going to be concentrating on having more aerial and less lower down, and we could see that, but it really worked, and it really was very entertaining. And you could see here, see these multicolour shells in the middle there, that they're just going out. They're going outwards, and the stars are going outwards. Well, remember those, because we're going to come back to that, because there were some lovely effects later on in the display. But look at this. Really filled the sky. Lots of big silver trails. We call them titanium. And look, it's the smiley face effects.
Yeah.
The audience loved
proving popular, the smiley faces this year, aren't they?
And I don't think that this is the only show that we're going to see smiley faces in tonight. We've still got a show to come. Watch out for those very special one, in fact, coming up. But look at that. Silver and red strobes. So these stars that are blinking on and off, silvers, reds, but we did see other colours, really fill the sky. And you can use those during a display, or you can use them in a finale. But look at this.
Are these the falling leaves that you mentioned earlier?
These are falling leaf, new colour type fireworks. Absolutely beautiful. Normally we see falling leaves in lots of different colours, but in these, I've never seen those before, and they look sensational. But not only that, Justin, but we were seeing these same stars used in other different types of shell in this display. So it was a very big display and a very big range.
One theme that struck me that went through this display is how long things like the falling leaves and some of the fireworks were hanging in the sky. I mean, a lot of them were exploding very high up, but still very visible as they reached the water.
Yeah, absolutely. That finale, absolutely breathtaking. And those fireworks went right down to the water and made quite an incredible effect. But we also had, right down at the low level down there, we also had low-level falling leaf effects, which were also very interesting. But here, more strobes and more different effects on the breakwater. But I can also tell you at the moment, we had some fires out on the breakwater that followed after Team 1 and Team 2 display. And one of the things that has to happen when you have a fire is you need to put it out, because you can lose communications on the firing systems. So the teams have just been putting those fires out, and I've just had an update that the fires have been put out, so they're now progressing on through to the next stage.
And let's just say that's not unusual for that to happen, is it? I mean, they've got proper procedures in place for small fires breaking out on the breakwater.
Absolutely, it's not unusual. We got a bit of a breeze out there. That's going to fan the fireworks. They stay hot for a long time, so they will be on it, but they're ready. And Team 3 are actually now, their system has tested correctly and fully, and they are ready to go. But looking back more here, we've got horsetail shells. These are like the waterfall effect that you can see there drooping down. Lovely charcoal colour with a little silver stars and strobe effects on the end of them.
Tell us a bit about how they've layered their display, because there seemed to be a lot going on at various levels in the sky, and multiple things happening all at once at different levels.
Yeah, absolutely. These are quite small effects down at the bottom at the moment that we can see going on there, but we've got bigger shells going off in the sky. But they did tell us at the start that they were going to be focusing on a high-level display, and that is what the general impression was when we looked at it. It was mainly up in the air with lower effects and smaller effects down below. But these are, you know, very good Roman candle effects in multi-different colours there, and red strobes, different colours, and a big crackling bursts up in the sky there.
And talking of the noise, bursting noise, how much of that is incorporated into the design? Do they, alongside the visual effect, when you're planning something like this, are you planning for the noise as well alongside the visual effect of it?
Yes, you can score points for sound and rhythm of the display, the rat-a-tat-tat of the different effects. And the technical judges will be looking for that and listening out and hearing the different rhythms, and they can do that very nicely going along the bottom of the display, going backwards and forwards. There's some big crackling effects, lots of different colors. Very, very good show. Team 3, though, their show is advancing. We've just had a thumbs up from the Harbour Master that they are clear to go, so they'll be doing the final test and then arming their firing system.
So we're just about 5 minutes away, maybe a little less than 5 minutes away from our final display tonight as we watch the replay of display number 2. And as we watch this unfold from display number 2 from Distant Thunder, what are your overall impressions, and how did they do compared to number 1? I mean, that's an unfair thing to put you on the spot on, but so far, what do you think of the overall standard tonight from 1 and 2?
I think it's very hard to compare the two. 1 and 2 are very different displays. 1 had a lot more going on lower down than 2. But 2 has some real, probably I would say that the crowd cheered more during 2 for some of the special sequences that they had. But yeah, you can never compare 2 completely.
Just remind us, because they've got the same amount of explosive. That's the main rule that they're working to. It's then how they divide that up in the size of fireworks, isn't it? So that's what makes the display different from the previous one, is how they've arranged the size of the fireworks. How does it differ from 1 to 2 here in how they've used size of explosives, would you say?
I'd certainly say that there are more shells, which are the big aerial bursts that are going up in the sky with Team 2. That's what we're seeing just non-stop on this screen next to us. Lots of those big aerial bursts. They're firing up like cannonballs up into the sky, and then they create these big balls or spherical or different shapes. These ones, there are big gold ones with tips, and then there's a big red one with blue centers, and you can see those down below. And up above, there's a bigger burst with big crackling trails on it. And then there's shells there going up with tails on them, which are the nice long silver lines that are coming right from the firing site, right up into the sky where they burst high above. And then low down here, lovely sequence, this one. Lots of falling leaves, and we saw lots of different colors, starting off with reds and greens and blues, but then changing into different colors with some golds and very bright.
What was amazing about it is how long these were hanging in the sky. Look how long it's taking for these to fall back down to the water. It's amazing.
They are beautiful, and there's a color transition. You can see red and greens have changed to silvers up above, and then big blue shells. You can see that layer effect really, really well. But it's a good point. We've just had the 2-minute warning from the firing site, 2 minutes until Team 3.
2 minutes then till the third display, the final display tonight. That will be from Shockwave Pyrotechnics. We'll come back to Distant Thunder's finale in just a moment. But let's talk a little bit about Shockwave. Just very briefly, Andy, tell us what we can expect from their display tonight.
Well, Mike on the Shockwave Pyrotechnics team has done a display with 10 clear sequences in it, starting off with a brocade sequence, which you'd normally find at the ending, and in fact we saw that in Team 1's show, the big gold ending. They're having that right at the beginning, moving into silver strobe waterfall, colour crossettes, crackling willows, so big long trailing effects that crackle, multicolored dahlia shells with European product, which will be really high quality, red, white and blue, patriotic crackling, a magnolia to a smiley face shell. There's so much in this, and a big glittering finale, which is going ahead in less than a minute.
Okay, let's very quickly hear from one of the team members of team number 3, Shockwave Pyrotechnics.
Hi, I'm Chris from Shockwave Pyrotechnics. We're based in the West Midlands. A relatively new company formed in 2007, and it's our first entry into the Plymouth competition. We're looking forward to staging a great and entertaining show for everyone tonight. The display is actually divided into 10 distinct sequences, leading up to what we think will be a spectacular finale. So the idea is that the spectators will be able to appreciate particular effects as the display progresses. It will be fast, a lot of variety in there, various levels, leading to what we think is a really, really great finale.
And here we go with display number 3, Shockwave Pyrotechnics. Well, there we go. The final display tonight, Shockwave. What did we think, Plymouth, of number 3? Let's hear your verdict. Oh, that got a big, loud cheer. Let's get the expert opinion, though. Andy, your initial thoughts on display number 3?
That was sensational, wasn't it? The crowd absolutely loved that. We started with a big finale. The gold finale that we saw in the first show, we actually started with that, and that built really good in the beginning. Lots of silver strobe sequence that we really enjoyed. Incredible different firework effects there. Crossettes and different colors, and we saw big crackling effects. And butterfly shells, we saw those, and the exhibition shells. And then we also saw that smiley face shell, and the huge finale at the end, which started off with gold and then went into lots of big silver strobe. A really, really impressive display.
And they promised us 10 separate sequences, and it was quite clear, wasn't it? It was 10 very distinctive sequences that we saw there.
Yeah, absolutely. 1 minute each, and they were all very differently defined, and we could go through those and follow those. They kept to the script. Lovely display here with big horsetail shells and a beautiful tail going up there, and lovely glittery crossette effects and time rain crossette. That time rain that hangs in the air with the crackling sound, and actually it can really fill the sky with those crossettes. A crossette being a star that splits into 4.
They were all very different displays tonight, all 3 of them. This one particularly was noticeable for the extra noise. It seemed to me to have more noise than some of the others. Was that your impression?
Yeah, I think so. I think all of the shows have had noise. It just depends how you do it and what sequences you have it in here. Here you've got a colourful sequence that won't have been as noisy, but if you have crossettes, or you have the crackling effect, or you have whistles, which I don't think we've heard tonight so far, no whistles at all in any of the shows, then you will have a very much a different effects there. In fact, though, one of the reasons we don't have whistles, they're very hard to make now. Plymouth City Council and TESA, the Event Services Association, who run the event, they have made it a rule that you can't have plastic components in your fireworks because we don't want to affect the marine environment. And whistles generally need plastic to be made to make a decent one.
Now, so the benefit of having your expert eye cast over the displays tonight, Andy, is that whilst we as lay people are just amazed at what we're seeing, you're spotting if things haven't quite gone according to plan. Was there anything in tonight's displays, 1, 2 or 3, where you think perhaps maybe things didn't quite go according to plan that we wouldn't necessarily have noticed?
Well, as you and I spoke about during the display, with Team 3, there was a little bit of a firework that was going off sideways at one point. Looked like it was bouncing off of the walls of the lighthouse. Everything is prepared for these things, but teams will want symmetry. And you can do, talking generally, you can do an absolutely impressive display, but potentially, just depending on how the judges see something, you know, depending on what the problem is, whether it's a big one, and that was only a very small problem, but the judges may consider that negatively, and it might affect the score.
Take us through what we're seeing now on the replay. We're at one of the many of the 10 stages that they put on tonight as Shockwave. What are we seeing unfold here?
Well, you can probably recognize the colors. They're the colors of our flag. Red, white, and blue. This is the patriotic sequence. Look at those lovely butterfly shells going off there. Yeah, it's lots of layers of different sequences that went through, but the patriotic one and some of the others in the finale and the opening were all real noteworthy ones.
So now, of course, the judges have got the difficult decision of working out tonight who's succeeded, but we won't know the overall winner, of course, till we've seen all 3 tomorrow. What exactly will the judges have been looking for through tonight's 3 displays?
Well, we've got 3 different panels of judges for the competition. We've got the lay judges, local people, who will be looking for wow factor and the color and the size of the display. And then you've got the technical judges. These are experienced people within the fireworks industry in the UK who will be looking at the different range of materials and how they're used and layered together. And of course, we've got our youth panel as well for the first time, this in the 26th year. We've got the youth panel who are making their own award for which show that they think is their winner. And so everybody looking for something different, but with the lay judges and the technical judges, their scores get put together. Look at this special, very exhibition shell sequence where they're just letting off shells in one by one, but they are very, very special shells, perhaps colours that we're chasing. We saw some what we call ghost shells during the show, where a pattern actually goes across the face of the firework whilst it's going off.
Yeah, this was an interesting section. So the sky wasn't necessarily filled with hundreds of fireworks all going off. These were very special individual fireworks putting on a very sort of limited visual but impressive visual display.
There's that smiley face. A bit hard to see, but I saw it. Absolutely beautiful, right in amongst a whole load of others. But yeah, look at it. And look down at the bottom. Colour sequence chases. This is what you would see if you went to see a proper Japanese high-quality firework display. Different colour sequences chasing around and then repeated up in the air, which is actually what we then saw in the following sequence. I think in this sequence, we saw some more ghost shells where the pattern goes through the sky. But look at that. Lovely, lovely whirling effects that are coming off of those. Such a range of different material in this display.
In terms of how the designers of each display are trying to find something new and innovative, is there anything new in the world of fireworks? What is it that you would be looking out for this year that you would want to make sure is introduced into a display that really shows cutting-edge design and technology?
These teams are looking for the very best in fireworks. You start off by going to China and visiting the factories there. That's not been possible for a few years. And so teams have been reliant on communicating by email and video, but they also will go to European shows and look at suppliers that are supplying different product there. The European product being a much higher quality than the Chinese and also a lot more expensive as well. They'll be looking for the special effects, and we've seen those throughout the shows here, particularly Team 2 and Team 3, with products that, you know, even I'm stood here watching and thinking, I've not seen that before. And when you can put that into a show and bring it all together, I think it adds something special. Technical judges will be looking at, they will love seeing fireworks that they've not seen. But here we go, look at that, big gold brocade sequence there. And I believe this then moves into strobes and then into silver effects. Lots of tails on the shells. You could tell that the end's coming because it starts filling. Look at that, filling the sky with huge silver titanium willow effects, and there's red strobe in there. Literally, they've thrown the book at it, this finale.
Look at that last one. I have to say, when they started with what was effectively the finale of number 1, number 3 started with what was effectively the finale of number 1. I thought, how are they going to end their display? But they really did up the game, didn't they, at the end, and really put in a great effort to finish their display. So let's reflect very briefly, Andy, on all 3 displays. How do you think they all performed? How will they all be feeling over there now about how it all went?
I think the goal is to fire that display as you designed it, as you intended it. If you can do that, then your display has been presented to the judges in the best possible light. And so I think all of them will be very, very happy with that. The judges may have spotted things that we didn't spot. So I think that will be the first thing. They all got through. They got through to the duration of the show. All of the shows had different elements for the judges who already have a very difficult task on their hands. At the moment, I couldn't call it. And you know, that is how close I think these different shows are. So we've seen different effects with the different companies, different designs. That's what you want when you're coming to a big competition like this.
As far as we could tell, they were all the 10 minutes they had to be, but they will face deductions or penalties if they didn't stick to their 10-minute duration.
Yeah, and an overrun or an underrun can actually find you docked with points. And of course, these shows are designed on computers, so they ought to run to exactly 10 minutes. There's nobody out there lighting them with a box of matches. It's the firing system that does it. So it ought to run to it. But what you can't guarantee, absolutely, is that you're not going to be affected by one of your fireworks bursting at low level, or whether you're going to be affected actually by somebody else's display that may have affected. And that's one of the things they check between shows, that everything's still working.
And briefly, it all ran roughly to time. What are you hearing from launch control? How do they feel the whole launch sequence went tonight?
They've been very happy with it. They've been dealing with a number of fires out there that we've been able to see from this side. But I've just had the all clear. The site is all clear, so that means the teams will slowly be beginning to move on to clear their sites, so that teams 4, 5, and 6 tomorrow can get started at 7 o'clock.
And that's an appropriate point to wind up our coverage. So all 3 teams have completed their displays tonight, and they're now being given the go-ahead to clear their displays from the Mountbatten Breakwater, make the site safe and clear, ready for the 3 teams that will compete tomorrow. Andy, thank you very much indeed for all your expertise tonight and your guidance. I know you'll be back with us tomorrow. We'll be back here live on stage, live on the Visit Plymouth YouTube channel for further coverage tomorrow from 9 o'clock. Hope you can join us then. From all of us here in Plymouth, good night.